Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled between rolling hills and whispering forests, there lived a young girl named Leela. She was as delicate as a snowflake, with eyes that sparkled like stars in the night sky. But life had not been kind to Leela. She lived with her cruel stepmother, who cared little for her, and her days were filled with endless chores and loneliness. One bitter winter's eve, as the village was blanketed in a thick layer of snow, Leela found herself sent out into the cold streets to sell matches. With naught but rags to keep her warm, she shivered with each step, her tiny feet leaving traces in the freshly fallen snow. As the evening wore on and the streets grew empty, Leela found herself unable to sell a single match. With each passing moment, her heart sank deeper into despair. Hunger gnawed at her belly, and the biting cold seemed to pierce through her very bones. Seeking solace from the biting cold, Leela huddled in a darkened alleyway, clutching her matches tightly to her chest. With trembling hands, she struck a match and watched as its flickering flame danced before her eyes, casting a warm glow upon her frozen cheeks. In the soft light of the match, Leela saw visions of warmth and comfort, a crackling fireplace, a table laden with steaming dishes, and a family gathered together in love and laughter. But as quickly as the match had been lit, it flickered and died, leaving Leela once again in darkness. Desperate to chase away the cold and hunger, Leela struck another match, and then another, until a gentle glow enveloped her, illuminating the alleyway with its soft radiance. In the flickering light of the matches, Leela saw wondrous visions unfold before her eyes, towering castles made of ice, forests adorned with glittering snowflakes, and creatures of myth and magic dancing in the moonlight. For a fleeting moment, she forgot the biting cold and the empty ache in her belly, lost in the enchanting world that the matches had conjured. But as the matches burned low and the visions faded away, reality came crashing back with a cruel vengeance. Leela found herself once again alone in the cold, her matches extinguished, and her dreams shattered. With tears freezing on her cheeks, Leela huddled against the icy wall, her heart heavy with despair. But just as all hope seemed lost, a gentle hand reached out to her, lifting her from the darkness. It was an elderly woman, her face lined with age but her eyes filled with kindness. She wrapped Leela in a warm embrace, offering her shelter from the bitter cold and a comforting bowl of soup to warm her weary bones. In the warmth of the woman's home, Leela found a sense of belonging she had never known. Surrounded by love and laughter, she realized that true happiness could not be found in fleeting visions or flickering flames, but in the warmth of human connection and the generosity of spirit. And so, with her heart full of gratitude, Leela vowed to never forget the lessons she had learned that fateful night, that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope to be found, and that the greatest magic of all lies within the kindness of others. In a village nestled amidst snow-capped mountains and ancient forests, there lived a kind-hearted girl named Katya. Despite the harshness of winter, Katya's heart remained warm and full of love for all living creatures. One bitter winter's day, Katya's stepmother sent her into the forest to gather firewood, hoping to rid herself of the girl's gentle presence. Undeterred by the biting cold, Katya ventured deep into the woods, her breath forming clouds of frost in the air. As she wandered among the frost-covered trees, Katya stumbled upon a clearing where 12 tall figures stood in a circle, their faces hidden beneath thick cloaks of snow and ice. "Who are you?" Katya asked, her voice trembling with wonder. "We are the 12 months," replied the figures in unison, their voices echoing through the silent forest. "And we have come to bring an end to winter's icy grip." With a wave of their hands, the 12 months banished the cold and snow, replacing them with the gentle warmth of spring. Flowers bloomed beneath their feet, and birdsong filled the air as life returned to the forest once more. Moved by their kindness, Katya offered to help the 12 months in any way she could. Grateful for her offer, they tasked her with tending to the forest and ensuring that the seasons changed smoothly from one to the next. Throughout the year, Katya worked tirelessly, caring for the plants and animals of the forest and helping the 12 months in their endless cycle of creation and renewal. With each passing season, her heart grew lighter, and her spirit soared like a bird in flight. Yet, as winter approached once more, Katya's stepmother grew jealous of the girl's newfound happiness. Determined to rid herself of Katya once and for all, she concocted a plan to send her deep into the heart of the forest, where the cold and snow reigned supreme. Unaware of her stepmother's treachery, Katya ventured into the forest, her heart full of joy and wonder. But as she wandered deeper and deeper into the woods, she soon found herself lost and alone, with no hope of finding her way home. As the cold closed in around her, Katya feared that she would freeze to death in the icy wilderness. Yet, just when all hope seemed lost, the 12 months appeared before her, their faces wreathed in smiles. "Fear not, dear Katya," they said, their voices like a gentle breeze on a summer's day. "For we have seen your kindness and generosity, and we shall not abandon you to the cold." With a wave of their hands, the 12 months banished the winter chill and guided Katya safely home to her village, where she was welcomed with open arms by her grateful neighbors. From that day forth, Katya's kindness and courage were celebrated throughout the land, and the 12 months watched over her with love and affection, ensuring that she would never again be lost in the cold embrace of winter. In a village nestled among snow-covered mountains, there lived a kind-hearted couple named Ivan and Maria. Despite their longing for a child, they had never been blessed with one of their own. Yet, one winter's day, as Maria gazed out at the swirling snowflakes, she saw something miraculous: a beautiful maiden made of snow, dancing in the icy winds. Enchanted by the sight, Maria and Ivan rushed outside to behold the wondrous spectacle before them. As they approached, the snow maiden's eyes sparkled with life, and she smiled at them with a warmth that melted their hearts. "Thank you for bringing me to life," the snow maiden said, her voice as soft as the falling snow. "I am forever grateful to you for your kindness." Overjoyed by their unexpected blessing, Maria and Ivan welcomed the snow maiden into their home, where she brought light and laughter to their lives with her gentle spirit and playful antics. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, the snow maiden grew in beauty and grace, her laughter filling the air like the tinkling of bells. Yet, despite her happiness, she could not escape the knowledge that her time with Maria and Ivan was limited, for she was made of snow and ice, destined to melt away with the coming of spring. Determined to make the most of her time with her beloved adopted parents, the snow maiden reveled in every moment, cherishing the love and warmth that surrounded her. And though she knew that her time with Maria and Ivan would soon come to an end, she remained grateful for the precious gift of life that they had given her. As the first signs of spring began to appear and the snow began to melt away, Maria and Ivan watched with heavy hearts as the snow maiden's form slowly began to fade. Yet, even as she vanished before their eyes, her love remained, a beacon of hope and joy that would never be forgotten. And so, as the snow maiden returned to the earth from whence she came, Maria and Ivan held her memory close to their hearts, knowing that she would always be a part of their lives. A reminder of the magic and wonder that could be found even in the coldest of winters. In a quaint village nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering streams, there lived a young girl named Maya. Despite the hardships of life, Maya's heart overflowed with kindness and compassion for all living creatures. One day, while wandering through the forest, Maya stumbled upon a mysterious old woman huddled beneath the shade of a towering oak tree. The woman's eyes sparkled with mischief as she beckoned Maya closer. "Dear child," the old woman said, her voice as soft as a summer breeze, "I have a gift for you, a magic porridge pot that will provide you with endless food and sustenance." Intrigued by the woman's words, Maya accepted the gift with gratitude and set off for home, her heart brimming with excitement. As she returned to the village, Maya could hardly contain her eagerness to try out the magic porridge pot and see if it lived up to the old woman's promises. Upon arriving home, Maya wasted no time in testing out the magic of the porridge pot. With a simple incantation, she commanded the pot to fill itself with steaming hot porridge, and to her amazement, it did just that. Day after day, Maya marveled at the wonders of the magic porridge pot, which never failed to provide her with a hearty meal whenever she was hungry. With each passing week, the pot seemed to grow stronger and more powerful, filling Maya's heart with gratitude for the gift she had received. Yet, as the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, Maya began to grow careless in her use of the magic porridge pot. She would command it to fill itself with porridge without considering the consequences of her actions, heedless of the chaos that she was causing. One day, while Maya was busy tending to her chores, she accidentally left the magic porridge pot unattended. Sensing an opportunity for mischief, the pot began to overflow, filling the kitchen with a tidal wave of steaming hot porridge that threatened to engulf everything in its path. Panicked, Maya tried in vain to stop the flow of porridge, but the pot seemed to have a mind of its own, continuing to pour forth its contents with ever-increasing speed and ferocity. As the porridge spilled out of the kitchen and into the streets, the villagers looked on in astonishment, unable to comprehend the source of the chaos that was unfolding before their eyes. Desperate for a solution, Maya called out to the old woman who had given her the magic porridge pot, hoping that she could help bring an end to the madness that had gripped the village. With a twinkle in her eye, the old woman appeared before Maya and whispered a simple incantation, causing the magic porridge pot to cease its flow and return to its dormant state. As the chaos subsided and the villagers began to clean up the mess that had been left behind, Maya realized the true power of the magic porridge pot and the importance of using it wisely and responsibly. From that day forth, Maya vowed to never again take the magic porridge pot for granted, and to always be mindful of the consequences of her actions. And though the pot may have been magical, Maya knew that true happiness could only be found through kindness, compassion, and a humble heart. In a quaint village nestled among rolling hills and meandering streams, there lived a young girl named Leela. With hair as golden as the summer sun and eyes as blue as the clearest skies, Leela was the pride and joy of her small community. Yet, despite her beauty, Leela possessed a heart filled with arrogance and pride. She cared little for the feelings of others, often placing her own desires above all else. One day, as Leela made her way through the village, she came upon a humble bakery tucked away on a quiet street. The scent of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, drawing her closer with each passing moment. Unable to resist the temptation, Leela stepped inside the bakery, her eyes alight with excitement. There, upon the counter, lay a loaf of bread so perfect and pristine that it seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly glow. Without a second thought, Leela reached out and snatched up the loaf, heedless of the baker's protests. With a hearty laugh, she tossed a coin upon the counter and strode out of the bakery, the loaf tucked beneath her arm like a prized possession. As Leela made her way through the village, she paid no heed to the curious stares and whispered gossip that followed in her wake. She was too consumed with thoughts of her own importance, too blinded by her own vanity, to care about the consequences of her actions. Yet, as she wandered farther and farther from the safety of the village, Leela found herself in unfamiliar territory, a dark and desolate swamp, where the air hung heavy with the scent of decay. Undeterred by the ominous surroundings, Leela pressed on, her eyes fixed upon the path ahead. Yet, with each step she took, the ground beneath her grew more treacherous, the mud swallowing her feet with each misstep. Desperate to escape the murky depths of the swamp, Leela clutched the loaf of bread to her chest, using it as a makeshift stepping stone to traverse the treacherous terrain. Yet, as she trod upon the loaf, its once pristine surface began to crumble beneath her weight, leaving behind a trail of crumbs that vanished into the darkness. With each passing moment, the swamp grew deeper and more treacherous, its murky waters rising to swallow Leela whole. Yet, still she pressed on, her pride blinding her to the danger that lurked just beyond her grasp. It was only when she had sunk to her knees in the mire, the last of the loaf disappearing beneath the surface, that Leela realized the folly of her ways. In her quest for greatness, she had trampled upon the kindness of others, leaving behind a trail of destruction in her wake. With a cry of anguish, Leela sank beneath the surface of the swamp, her cries echoing through the night like a mournful lament. And though the villagers searched high and low for their lost daughter, she was never seen again. From that day forth, the villagers spoke of the girl who trod on the loaf, a cautionary tale of pride and vanity that served as a reminder to all who heard it. And though Leela may have vanished into the darkness, her memory lived on as a warning to those who dared to follow in her footsteps. In a quaint village nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering forests, there lived a young girl named Lily. Lily was known for her love of dancing, her feet moving like poetry in motion as she twirled and spun through the meadows and fields. But despite her talent, Lily longed for something more, a pair of red shoes that would make her the envy of all who saw her. And so, when a mysterious shoemaker offered to make her a pair of the finest red shoes she had ever seen, Lily eagerly accepted, ignoring the warning in the shoemaker's eyes. But as soon as Lily slipped on the red shoes, she felt a strange power coursing through her veins. Unable to control her movements, she danced faster and faster, her feet flying across the ground as if possessed by some unseen force. Try as she might, Lily could not stop dancing, the red shoes binding her to their spell with every step she took. And though she pleaded with the shoemaker to free her from their grip, he could only watch in sorrow as Lily danced herself to exhaustion. With each passing day, Lily's condition grew worse, her once graceful movements devolving into a frantic frenzy of twirls and spins. And though the villagers whispered and stared, none dared to intervene, for they feared the power of the red shoes and the fate that awaited those who dared to defy them. But deep within Lily's heart, a spark of hope still flickered, refusing to be extinguished by the red shoes' dark magic. And as she danced through the village square, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in a nearby puddle, her eyes filled with determination to break free from the shoes' curse once and for all. Summoning all her strength, Lily tore the red shoes from her feet, casting them aside with a cry of defiance. And as the shoes lay abandoned on the ground, their power faded away, leaving Lily free to dance as she pleased once more. From that day forth, Lily vowed to cherish the simple joy of dancing for its own sake, knowing that true happiness could not be found in fancy shoes or fleeting fame, but in the love and passion that filled her heart with every step she took. And though the red shoes may have tempted her with their allure, they could never steal the magic of dance from her soul. In a quaint village nestled among towering pine trees, there lived a sweet young girl named Rosalie, known affectionately as Little Red Riding Hood for the crimson cloak she wore on her journeys through the forest. One bright morning, Rosalie's mother called her to the kitchen and placed a basket filled with freshly baked treats in her hands. "Take these to your grandmother," she said with a smile. "But be careful, my dear, and stay on the path." Rosalie nodded eagerly, her heart brimming with excitement at the thought of visiting her beloved grandmother. With a cheerful goodbye, she skipped along the forest path, the sun dappling through the leaves above. Unbeknownst to Rosalie, a cunning wolf lurked among the shadows, his eyes gleaming with hunger as he watched her approach. With a sly grin, he devised a plan to trick the unsuspecting girl and feast on her grandmother's treats. "Good day, Little Red Riding Hood," the wolf greeted her, his voice dripping with false sweetness. "Where are you off to in such a hurry?" "I'm going to visit my grandmother," Rosalie replied, her innocence shining in her eyes. "She lives on the other side of the forest, and I'm bringing her these goodies." The wolf's stomach rumbled at the mention of treats, but he feigned interest in Rosalie's errand. "How kind of you," he said, his voice laced with deceit. "Why don't you take the scenic route through the woods? It's much faster, and you'll arrive in no time." Rosalie hesitated, her mother's warnings echoing in her mind. But the wolf's words were honeyed, and she soon found herself straying from the path, deeper into the heart of the forest. As they walked, the wolf spun tales of adventure and excitement, distracting Rosalie from her purpose. But when they reached a fork in the road, He bid her farewell with a toothy grin, his eyes glinting with malice. "Go straight ahead, my dear," he whispered, his voice a sinister whisper. "And don't stop until you reach your grandmother's house." With a sense of unease gnawing at her, Rosalie continued on her journey, the forest growing darker and denser around her. Yet, despite her misgivings, she pressed on, determined to reach her grandmother's side. At last, Rosalie arrived at her grandmother's cottage, her heart pounding with relief. But as she stepped inside, a chill ran down her spine, for the Wolf lay in wait, disguised as her grandmother. "Grandmother, what big ears you have!" Rosalie exclaimed, her voice trembling with fear. "The better to hear you with, my dear," the Wolf replied, his grin widening. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have!" Rosalie continued, her pulse quickening with each word. "The better to see you with, my dear," the Wolf replied, his hunger growing with each passing moment. "Grandmother, what big teeth you have!" Rosalie whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. "The better to eat you with, my dear," the Wolf snarled, lunging forward with outstretched claws. But before the Wolf could harm her, a brave woodsman burst through the door, his axe gleaming in the firelight. With a mighty swing, he felled the Wolf, rescuing Rosalie and her grandmother from certain doom. With the Wolf vanquished, Rosalie and her grandmother embraced, their bond stronger than ever before. And as they shared the treats from Rosalie's basket, they knew that no matter how dark the forest may seem, love and courage would always light the way home. In a quaint cottage nestled amidst a garden of fragrant flowers, there lived an elderly woman who longed for a child of her own. One spring day, as she tended to her garden, she discovered a delicate flower with petals as soft as silk and a bud no bigger than her thumb. With gentle care, the woman plucked the flower and placed it in a tiny walnut shell filled with dew, whispering words of love and tenderness. To her amazement, the flower bloomed open, revealing a tiny maiden no bigger than a thumb. Thumbelina. Though small in size, Thumbelina possessed a heart as pure as the morning dew and a spirit as bright as the sun. She danced among the flowers, her laughter ringing through the air like the tinkling of bells. But one night, as Thumbelina slept nestled in a rose petal, she was whisked away by a band of mischievous toads who coveted her beauty. They carried her deep into the forest and placed her on a lily pad in the center of a murky pond, intending to marry her to their son, the Toad Prince. Heartbroken and afraid, Thumbelina gazed out at the vast expanse of water, longing for escape. But just as all hope seemed lost, a kind-hearted swallow appeared, drawn by Thumbelina's sweet voice. With great compassion, the swallow offered to help Thumbelina escape the clutches of the toads and return her to her beloved garden. He plucked the lily pad from the water and carried Thumbelina high into the sky, her tiny hands clutching onto his feathers as they soared through the clouds. Together, they journeyed across meadows and mountains, valleys and rivers, until at last, they reached the safety of Thumbelina's garden. Overjoyed to be reunited with her home, Thumbelina thanked the swallow for his kindness and bid him farewell as he flew off into the sunset. And as Thumbelina danced among the flowers once more, her heart filled with gratitude and love for the brave swallow who had rescued her from darkness and brought her back to the light. From that day forth, she lived happily in her garden, surrounded by the beauty of nature and the warmth of her newfound friends. In a land where snowflakes danced like diamonds in the air and the forests whispered secrets of old, there lived a young maiden named Elena. She was known throughout the village for her beauty and kindness, but her greatest treasure was a crystal ball passed down to her from her ancestors. This crystal ball was said to possess magical powers, capable of revealing glimpses of the future to those who knew how to unlock its secrets. And though Elena cherished it dearly, she had never dared to use its powers, fearing the unknown that lay beyond. But one fateful day, as she gazed into the depths of the crystal ball, she saw a vision that filled her heart with dread. A shadow looming over the village, threatening to engulf it in darkness. Determined to protect her home and her loved ones, Elena set out on a quest to uncover the truth behind the vision that had haunted her dreams. Through forests and mountains she traveled, her heart filled with courage and her mind focused on the task at hand. Along the way, she encountered many trials and challenges, but she pressed on, guided by the whispers of the wind and the flickering light of the stars. And as she journeyed deeper into the heart of the unknown, she discovered that the true power of the crystal ball lay not in its ability to predict the future, but in its ability to reveal the strength and courage that lay within her own heart. At last, after many days of travel, Elena reached the source of the darkness that threatened her village. A fearsome dragon, its scales as black as night and its eyes burning with malice. With a steady hand and a heart full of determination, Elena faced the dragon head-on, her crystal ball glowing with an otherworldly light. And as she unleashed its power, she saw the dragon's true form, a creature of loneliness and despair, longing for love and companionship. Moved by compassion, Elena reached out to the dragon with kindness and understanding, offering it the warmth of her heart and the light of her soul. And in that moment, the darkness that had clouded the land began to dissipate, replaced by a radiant light that shone brighter than the sun. With tears of gratitude in its eyes, the dragon bowed its head to Elena, its heart filled with love and gratitude. And as it soared into the sky, leaving behind a trail of shimmering stars in its wake, Elena knew that she had found the true power of the crystal ball, the power to bring light to even the darkest corners of the world, and the power to unlock the magic that lay within her own heart. In the rolling hills of Ireland, where the emerald fields stretched as far as the eye could see and the sky was painted with hues of gold and crimson, there lived a young girl named Sours. She was known throughout the village for her wild spirit and adventurous heart, but her greatest passion lay with the magnificent wild geese that soared through the skies above. Every evening, Sours would climb to the top of the highest hill, her eyes scanning the horizon for a glimpse of the majestic birds as they journeyed to distant lands. And though she longed to join them in their flight, she knew that her place was on the ground, bound by the ties of family and duty. But one fateful day, as Sours wandered through the forest, she stumbled upon a hidden glade bathed in the soft light of the setting sun. And there, nestled among the trees, she discovered a wounded wild goose, its feathers matted and its wing broken. Moved by compassion, Sours approached the goose with gentle hands, offering it comfort and solace. And as she tended to its wounds, a bond formed between them, a bond that transcended the barriers of language and species. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, as Sours nursed the wild goose back to health. And as its strength returned, so too did Sours's longing to join the flock in their journey across the skies. With a heavy heart, Sours knew that she could not keep the wild goose bound to the earth any longer. And so, with tears in her eyes, she bid farewell to her feathered friend, releasing it into the air with a whispered prayer for its safe travels. But as the wild goose soared into the sky, something miraculous occurred. Its wings began to glow with an otherworldly light, and before Sours's eyes, it transformed into a beautiful maiden with wings of purest white. Filled with wonder and awe, Sours watched as the wild goose maiden circled above her, her laughter echoing through the forest like the song of the wind. And though she knew that she could never join the flock in their flight, she took comfort in the knowledge that she had helped one of their own find freedom and happiness once more. From that day forth, Sours became known as the friend of the wild geese, revered throughout the land for her kindness and compassion. and though she may never soar through the skies with them, her spirit remained forever intertwined with theirs, a testament to the power of love and friendship in a world filled with wonder and magic.